everybody. Welcome to CAF Warbird Tube, the show where we talk about World War II, aviation, history, and so much more. Warbird Tube is produced by the Commemorative Air Force, the world's largest flying museum. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and honor through flight and living history experiences. The CAF began the Warbird movement more than 65 years ago, and thanks to the support of individuals like you, we continue to grow strong. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And now our host, Steve Buss. Thanks for watching and keep 'em flying.
Good evening, airplane fans, and welcome to CAF Warbird Tube. Tonight, on episode number 176, we feature a very special BT-13 that's cared for by the Tex Hill Wing in Texas. Now, whether you're joining us for the very first time or you're a loyal Warbird Tube fan, we're thrilled to have you with us tonight. And if you enjoy our content, don't forget to spread the word on your favorite social media platform. And of course, if you subscribe on YouTube, make sure you click that bell icon and you'll get notifications when our new episodes are posted. Now, Warbird Tube is made possible by the Commemorative Air Force. To find out more about the CAF, our events, our aircraft like the BT-13, our local units like the Tex Hill Wing, or how you can join the fun, please visit our website at commemorativeairforce.org. Now, as you're watching the presentation, if you have some questions, just type those in the chat box and we'll answer them either during the presentation or before we sign off. Now, tonight, a little technical difficulty has landed upon us, and it's not a bad thing. It's just our webcams will not be working for this evening, but you'll get to see the entire show and get to hear from the wonderful folks at the Tex Hill Wing. The Tex Hill Wing is the custodian of this VAL, which is a converted BT-13. But before we talk about the airplane, CAF is not just airplanes, right? It's people as well. And there's a dedicated group of volunteers down at the Tex Hill Wing, as there are all across the country, across the world, who are part of the Commemorative Air Force. And we'd like to introduce you to a few folks from the Tex Hill Wing. And right now, I'm going to start with you, Jenny. Jenny Garza, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with the Tex Hill Wing.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I am involved in the Tex Hill Wing for about, I would say, 4 years now. I got involved wrong place, right time, or vice versa, and I've enjoyed every moment of it since. I came on as the cadet advisor, and I've continued that role, and I am also currently the finance officer for the Tex Hill Wing.
Excellent. Before we sign off tonight, let's make sure we talk more about the cadet program, because Tex Hill Wing has a great cadet program, kind of a role model for other wings as it is. So we want to talk more about that. Jeff Schmidt is also joining us. Jeff is the wing leader. How about you, Jeff? What's your background with CAF?
I originally signed up for a ride in our SNJ-4, Old Yeller, and I came to the unit and just loved all the volunteers we had, and fortunately they wanted me to be a wing leader and allowed me to be a pilot of that very plane that I just wanted one ride in, and that was 4.5 years ago. And then from there I took on the cadet program and I handed that over to Jenny, and I became wing leader.
Great. And what's your background? You mentioned that you want to be a pilot. What's your background in aviation?
It is. So I went through the Air Force Academy, did 10 years active duty, and then flew 6 years in the reserves, flying C-5s here in San Antonio. And then actually when I saw Old Yeller out, it was just 2 hangars down. I was taking a helicopter lesson, and then I had a day off from both United, who was my employer, to pay for helicopter lessons and flying Old Yeller. And then so with that day off, that allowed me to come down and do a ride, and then here we are.
Great. And joining us from your hangar, the Tex Hill Wing hangar, is John Schatz. And John, we've just been informed tonight that you've been selected as the CAF Maintenance Officer of the Year. So congratulations on that award. Well deserved, I'm sure. Tell us a little bit about your background in aviation. I understand you were at the Smithsonian for a number of years in a restoration team.
Yes. Long story, I'll make it short. I was waiting for something to do after I got out of the Air Force. And when I retired, I came out here, and one of the first things that happened was I ran across a former member of the CAF. At that time, it was the Confederate Air Force, a guy by the name of Jack Kaywood, who was one of the earliest members. This goes back to, I guess, the actual creation of the CAF. At any rate, he needed a ride, and the unit was located at Hondo Field at that point in time. So I took him over there a couple of times. Met Darren Bond and some of the other folks. Next thing I knew, I was hooked. And then shortly thereafter, the Val project came along, and it looked like something I'd really like to do. So I've been with it ever since.
Great, great. And let's talk a little bit about the history of the Val dive bomber itself. Obviously a Japanese aircraft from World War II, involved in the war from the very early days all the way through. Can you talk a little bit about just the general history of the Val?
The Val that we have is a BT-13 replica. Okay. The Japanese Val, the actual aircraft in use, was a dive bomber, which is about a 1935 to 38 creation, refined several times over. And, as you see this one configured, and also in the Tora configuration, it is aligned pretty much with the 1941-42 carrier-based aircraft. In late 42, throughout 43, the aircraft were relegated back to the Marine Corps, the Marine Kokutai, as it were, and they served as land-based dive bombers. So what we have is from the Tora unit of the Commemorative Air Force, one of their original airplanes. It flew in the configuration of the BT-13 with the Japanese paint. And in 1991, it was reconfigured physically by a group that Grace can tell you about, to look as we see it right now in the World War II appearance of the carrier at Atsugi. I'm in competition with some aircraft that works at airports now.
No.
Okay, dead air is not a good thing. I don't know if I can talk over it or not, but at any rate, yeah, okay.
You're good, John. Yeah, we can.
I'll
we
do
can
the
hear
rise.
you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. At any rate, the preservation and the restoration of this particular aircraft is been kind of a lengthy process for a lot of things that have happened to it over the years. But it's other than the configuration and its movie fame, Tora, and also in Pearl Harbor, it was used to certify the use of the R1340 engine on the BT-13 frame, which was only certified for the Pratt & Whitney 985 450 horsepower engine. So a considerable difference, but it was required to be done in order to come up with the full scale replica that was used in the motion picture. So that is its distinct routine right now. Field approval. Back to you.
Okay. And we've got Grace Jones, who's there with you as well. Grace, you want to pop in and say hello?
Hi, guys.
So the airplane itself, when did the Tex Hill Wing get custodianship of the airplane?
I believe it was 2019. Somebody can correct me about that. It was 2019?
Yes.
There you go.
And with it being in the 12 Planes of Christmas, what are you raising money to do with the airplane?
Okay, I'm going to let John talk about that. You want to talk about what you need for the plane? He's better at that stuff.
Okay.
Okay, there's a rather long list of bits and pieces. The majority of the major items have been repaired. We're down to the point now where it's a put-together situation. For instance, the next move on this, essentially the fuselage will be to install the control cables, rig those in, which will be followed by the installation of the stabilizer, the elevator, the rudder. Once that is taken care of, the room is made, and the instrument panels will be installed. Vacuum system be run for the instruments. The electrical system be run for the comm nav system and the engine controls. Following that, then we decided back in the early stages that the starting process, switches and so forth, will be as close to that of the SNJ4 as possible. So pilot switching from one aircraft to the other really have no problems with the ground operation of the airplane. It's, as I say, it's a matter of doing things. This has it, for instance, seat belts and harnesses have to be replaced. The seats have been, as it were, reworked. I did cushions, so that's about $1,200 a seat, just to give you some idea of how the little things can add up rather quickly. They have some instruments that came from another aircraft, and they're very fortunate in donations, but they have to be certified, and that's being done. So in this particular case, we're looking at another $800 in instruments. But the donation itself, I'll go to the donation itself, the conversion aircraft going from standard instrumentation to the electronic, we gained a little over $18,000 worth of instrumentation, all usable. So that's kind of an overview there of some of the things you get into. Hoses, for instance. There's always that little thing that a stumbling block. I would just deal with that as we go. One big item, of course, is landing gear. We went through 8 individual items, landing gear items, none of which were serviceable. They had to be torn down and rebuilt. That is a process now. At any rate, it would appear that the final cost of the serviceable landing gear will be $10,000 for the pair. So at least we'll have a serviceable landing gear at that point. Once that's done, the fuselage will be fitted to the wing, and that's when the fun really begins. So we're looking at the completion date between June and July of next year.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. So you're moving right along. What about the engine? How is the engine for the airplane? The engine and the prop?
The engine and the prop have been overhauled and certified. We're into the process now of replacing the hoses on the engine. So everything else is there.
Okay.
So once that's done and the fuselage mounted to the wing, then we can then mount the engine to the aircraft, complete the wiring and the hookup system, the cockpit. So wheel it out the door and say a little prayer.
There you go. Wow, it's a very ambitious schedule to put all of this back together and have it flying by next summer. So, how many volunteers aside from yourself are working on this project?
There are two of us full time.
Wow.
And we have on a couple of days a week we'll have 2 or 3 other people come in. So, in actuality, a full time volunteer force of 2.
Very good.
Myself and my eventual replacement.
Tell us, because this is always fascinating when we talk about the Tora airplanes. What kind of modifications were made to the airplane, to the BT-13, to make it look like a Val dive bomber?
Well, you're talking strictly cosmetic.
Okay.
There was a picture of it here a few minutes ago. You're looking at a lot of fiberglass work to make the gear. There's a photo there. The landing gear covered with fiberglass molding to look exactly like the original Val aircraft. They were eventually replaced by folding gear, modernization, and so forth. But in the World War II use at the beginning, it appeared just exactly as this is. There's quite a little bit of work done on the cowling. Cowl flaps had to be added in or attached to it to give it that feeling. The gun sight is added to the top, so that's between the windscreen and the forward part of the cowling. Dive brakes were added to the wings, which were actually they're fixed little slabs. We'll probably not go back to using those. It's nice for appearances, so I guess sitting in a museum setting, that's a thought. The tail hook was originally on the aircraft. It was also a dummy. But going through and doing the sheet metal work on the airplane, the dummy tail hook apparently caused some problems structurally. And it was flown, I think, without that for quite some time. So that's another item that could be an appearance type of thing in a museum set. But as it is, as you see the airplane in the photograph there, that's about what it's going to look like when it comes out. We'd like to paint it as a ring crocodile, which was a forest green with black splotches and tan underwings. And selectively, I guess, come up with the individual markings, say for a pilot that was a commander or somewhere higher up in the flight realm. So it could be decorated personally. And of course, we'll translate one of the major donors' names, have that applied to the side of the aircraft also. So as you see it in the photograph, that's what it will look like. So.
Very good. Do you know where the term Val came from?
Yes. The Army Air Corps, rather than go through all the numbers and identifications of the aircraft, they were all given particular names. So this particular dive bomber, Aichi D3A, was called a Val. The same thing with the AM-6, which was named a Zero. So each aircraft, each type of aircraft had its own name. There was Sally, there was Ruth, Betty, you name it. When you got into the female names and you were dealing with multi-engine predominantly.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, with the 12 Planes of Christmas and having folks donate to this project is going to go a long way. But the Val is not the only airplane that you have at the Tex Hill Wing, is it?
No, we have an SNJ-4, which demands quite a little bit of attention in its flying time. So The two of us are kind of divided between airplanes.
All right. Well, right now, before we talk more about the Val, we're going to take a look at a video that that Grace put together, and it kind of gives us a little more insight into the Val, and also into a lot of the things that happen at the Tex Hill Wing. So stand by and take a look.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. My name is Darren Bond, and I am currently a member of the Tex Hill Wing, and I am the director of the Tex Hill Wing Education Center. You are in the Education Center right now. I'll talk a little bit more about that in detail in a little bit. But I have been the wing leader for 2 different terms of the Tex Hill Wing. I know a little bit about the history. This wing started in 2009, I believe, in Fredericksburg, Texas. A gentleman named Chuck Beasley and a half a dozen of his friends knew Tex Hill, and they started this wing. They got Tex Hill's permission to use his name and his likeness for the wing. They did not have an airplane back then, but the membership was very enthusiastic. They moved from Fredericksburg, Texas to Hondo, Texas, which is where I found the wing and I joined the wing. They did inherit a L5 Sentinel in Hondo, and they started putting on air shows at Hondo. Air shows were very successful for the wing for a while. They had a couple air shows that were weathered out, and that was financially pretty devastating for the wing. The wing almost died in Hondo because of that, and a few people got the idea to move right here to San Antonio to the Stinson Airfield to be in a more appropriate place and to give us a little bit more opportunity for success. So we did. We moved the wing I guess we've been here for about 6 years now. So 6 years ago, we moved the wing from Hondo, Texas to Stinson Airfield in San Antonio. When we moved, we didn't have a hangar, we didn't have a spot, but we made the transfer of the flag here. San Antonio received us very, very well. It was just a short time before we got one of the most historic hangars here on the airfield, Hangar 3. It happened to be where Tex Hill took his very first airplane ride as a 12-year-old. And then we more recently, were able to acquire the rights to this hangar. This is Hangar 4 at the Stinson Airport in San Antonio. We've transitioned Hangar 4, which is a great facility, another historic facility, into our education center. We have developed some future plans for this hangar in developing our education center that are just amazing. We have put lots and lots of effort into this hangar already in terms of volunteer labor, support, money, upgrades. An older building needs all sorts of maintenance and that sort of stuff. And the transition from just a storage building to an education center has been gradual but very significant. And I'll kind of give you a little tour of our education center and where we are now and where we're going. And I'm not sure what all you can see in the shot right now, but over here to the right is an airplane that we affectionately called Old Yeller. Old Yeller was donated to the Tex Hill Wing, and it's an airplane. It's an S&J trainer from World War II. It's an airplane that Tex Hill would have trained in back during World War II. Very appropriate for our story. And this airplane we have been flying routinely and regularly for years now. It's very well known around the area. San Antonio residents see it, hear it, and they recognize where it comes from. This airplane has been an ambassador for the Tex Hill Wing. We have done community service in a variety of ways. Youngsters, veterans, and all that have all had wonderful experiences in the backseat of this airplane. Tours of San Antonio, experiences in aviation. It's just been a wonderful tour for us. One of my favorite flights in Old Yeller was during COVID, when COVID was really getting the San Antonio area down and depressed, and a lot of lockdowns and rules. The Archbishop of San Antonio came out here, and we flew the Archbishop around San Antonio to 32 different significant religious sites, and literally tens of thousands of parishioners came out to welcome the Archbishop as the Archbishop blessed the city and reopened the city and the religious facilities in San Antonio. That was all done right here in this airplane with the Archbishop in the back seat of this airplane. So we're very, very proud of what we do with community service. We're very proud of the future of our community service. That's what our education center is all about. And it's had an impact. The city really loves us, really supports us, and I think we have a great future. Well, a little bit more about the Education Center. You now see our cadet van Warhawk. You see this aircraft, which was built by Southwest High School students and with our help and support. We have in our Education Center a growing diorama. This is a replica of a P-40, which is the airplane that made Tex Hill famous. This is the airplane that Tex Hill flew as a American volunteer pilot in World War II, actually before World War II started for us. To the left of it is a very significant artifact. This is a MB Jeep. This Jeep was built by Ford Motor Company during World War II under license of Willis. To the right is another Jeep. It's a little more contemporary, but it makes a great display and helps us to tell our story. This is one of the areas where we will have cadets acting as docents as we get visitors to the Education Center. You'll see a cadet there dressed in period clothing, telling the story about World War II, about Tex Hill, his role in it, and other specific issues that he learns about right here. So we have some great plans for our Education Center. This is just part of it. In the center here, Grace, you see our logo here on the floor and the big American flag. This is our display center, and we will have visiting aircraft here that are significant to history. And that's what you see right here, Grace. This is a stagger wing Beechcraft built in 1944. This particular aircraft, which is on loan to us right now, was sent to the Royal Navy and used as an observation aircraft in World War II with the Royal Navy. It was a part of the Lend-Lease program, and when World War II was over, the British sent it back to us. It's in private ownership now, and the owner of this aircraft has been gracious enough to let us borrow it for a while, put it on display, tell its history and its story. And next week, you'll see another aircraft here that is significant to history, and we want to keep that display here in the center of the Education Center rotating. And we hope to use a lot of the CAF aircraft to do that. CAF operates about 175 vintage World War II and later aircraft, and we'd like to put those on display here and use them to tell a story about the background, and contribute to the education, which is what our Education Center is all about. Another aircraft we have right now back here, that's a T-34A, a military trainer. This particular aircraft was flown by the Air Force in the 50s. The owner of this aircraft has been very generous with us. He's given a lot of our members rides in this aircraft. It has a paint job on it, authorized by Tex Hill, that replicates Tex Hill's P-40. So we're happy to have that. It makes a great display in here. This hangar, this Education Center, is a working building. So things that you see in here, all of these airplanes fly. And so the display part of this will change from time to time. It'll always be something new. If you come to the Education Center 1 week and you come back here 3 weeks later, it'll be a whole new set of circumstances. On the ground over here, all these boxes, we had a donor that has donated a very extensive collection of World War II and other models and displays. These are all brand new, very high quality glass display cases that we're going to build and we're going to set up in here. And Grace, if you could follow me to the outside, I want to show you a picture of what this hangar, what this Education Center will look like in the future. As I said, we have some very big plans. We're working right now with the city of San Antonio. We're going to get a partnership with the city of San Antonio that owns this hangar. That partnership will allow us to grow significantly. And I hope the light is okay, but if you come around here, walk down with me just a little bit, Grace. You'll see a representation of what our Education Center will look like in just a few years. right now, Grace and I are standing right here. So we are in front of this hangar, which is our education center. This is what we would like the face of our education center to look like. The back side of this hangar is on the street side, Mission Road, which is a significantly historic road. And you'll see a mural that tells our story on that side as well. And this is what we're really excited about. This will be a new building that will house meeting facilities, classroom facilities, anything that we need to help facilitate our mission of educate, inspire, and honor will be done in this new building. So as we get the city of San Antonio to help us with the partnership and we start raising more money to build this, you're going to see some great things happen here at the Tex Hill Wing. I'm Colonel Dennis Castillo, the Commemorative Air Force, Tex Hill Wing in Simpson Airport in San Antonio, Texas. With me is also John Schatz, also with the CAF. John is a project manager of the restoration and the rebuild of the BT-13 valve project. Now tell me about yourself and how you ended up with this project, John.
Okay, I started off as an airplane nut back as a kid, and it's something that just never went away. College, Air Force, then retirement. Never lost track of the airplanes, and of course, Air Force, you're with me. Anyway, after I retired, I was looking for something to do. Any way to spend my time constructively, we'll put it that way. And that's how I came to be with the Commemorative Air Force. Shortly after joining ranks here in San Antonio, the CAF offered us this particular airplane here, the BT-13 valve lookalike, as a project and second airplane for us. So this was the fall of 2019, and a group of us went up there, Darren Bond, his son Jared, myself, looked at the airplane, and yes, it looked doable. So we proceeded to take it apart, truck it down here, and then begin the operation. It was at that point that COVID hit, so it became pretty much just myself and standing of the airframe down, doing the checks for corrosion, malfunction, cracks, so forth in the structure. That was all kind of taken care of in the 2 years that proceeded, along with some other little odds and ends in the cockpit enclosures. So at this point, all of that little stuff is done. We have a few parts that are causing a backup, but we're at a point where manpower, money, and time are all working with each other. So gelling those three together, it shouldn't take too long to put this airplane back in here. I'll use an example with the control surfaces. We're missing a couple of components that fit on the cables themselves. Okay, once those are there and installed into the fuselage, we can attach the stabilizer, the elevator, the rudder, and then prep for installation of the engine. So when all is said and done, I hope to have this airplane out the door with the engine running and ready to fly by the end of June and next year.
Jenny, what brought you to the Tex Hill Wing and to Commemorative Air Force?
I started volunteering with the Commemorative Air Force just over 3 years ago and was brought on by Darren Bond. And he recruited me to become the cadet advisor, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Excellent. I actually was taking helicopter lessons, and I saw this flying around, and then I saw on the website that you can do a ride for hire. They have a rides program, so I bought one of those and fell in love with everybody in the unit, so I had to join. And then a year after that, a year before Jenny, I became the cadet advisor also, because we have such a good cadet program here, and I wanted to be involved with it, wanted to plan activities for them. And then we eventually grew to 44 cadets, I think, at the most.
What's your favorite part of the Tex Hill Wing?
My favorite part of the Tex Hill Wing is definitely the planes, the vintage airplanes that we have, and I think that is probably the cadets' favorite part as well.
It's definitely the cadets' favorite part, and we try and get every cadet a ride in Old Yeller, and that's my favorite part of flying Old Yeller, is taking cadets with me and just seeing how excited they are. And Jenny does a great job of finding out which cadets need rides, which ones are available, and coordinating all of that and really adding to their experience. The thing that's, so right now I'm the wing leader, and the thing that I'm most excited about is the cadet program that we have here. It's award-winning. We have helped 5 other units start a program. They basically used our model, and some of the larger units that have the more attractive planes toward membership, the fighters and that, they can't get a cadet program started, and helping foster their cadet programs and sharing what we do is an important part. Jenny was very instrumental in getting the cadets a ground school, and could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we had a ground school last summer, and we had 8 cadets attend. They came here 3 nights a week, and they had the opportunity to really dive in to what becoming a pilot looks like. And for some of it, it was hard given the fact that they don't have that flight experience yet, but they breezed through it, and we have 2 that have earned their private pilot license as a whole within the Cadet Corps, and 2 more who are quickly behind them.
And because of Jenny coming up with this idea, we actually had the whole ground school donated by one of our donors. We do have probably the largest function we've ever undertaken coming up October 19th of 2024, just in case this is dated. And would you like to talk about Career Day?
Sure. So
Okay.
Career Day is going to be here at the Tex Hill Wing Education and Events Center. It's going to feature all of the trade schools in the San Antonio area colleges, universities, and recruitment officers from all of the military branches, that students will be able to come out and chat with all of these different people and see what their future could potentially look like once they set their goals and their mind to it.
In San Antonio, Fiesta is a huge event, and for those of you who've never heard of it, it's the 2nd largest week-long event in the country after Mardi Gras in New Orleans. And it's a huge event. Hopefully we're going to be on the official calendar. Right now we're an unofficial event because you have to show basically
2 years.
2 years of a successful event. Last year was very successful, and we hope that that's going to become an official Fiesta event that we host right here at the Education Center. So the cadets we affect in South San Antonio here aren't just only the cadets who are interested in aviation careers. We also have many cadets who are not going to seek a career in aviation, and they're going to look to go on and do something else. We had one hopefully future actress that came through, but maybe Jenny, do you have more examples of that?
I think as a whole, the impact we're having on the cadets that come to the Tex Hill Wing, some of their home life and things beyond our control is uncertain, but when they're here, their path and the people they're surrounded by is certain, and it provides a sense of pride and ownership and things that they get to help with, especially with the airplanes, that they can look forward to something, and so they keep coming back to every meeting. And for me, looking at where some of them have started, I believe that it has changed the course of their life, all because we took time with them as individuals.
There's no doubt that a lot of our cadets, their course in life has been altered. And we have a fantastic membership here, and organic mentorship is, I think, the best way to describe it. So besides each cadet having a sponsor, all of our membership of our colonel members, they work with all these cadets and lead different ways. The cadets love marshalling, and we have put marshalling schools together for them. And those have all been successful. And even the small things like working the power cart, ground power equipment, and that they get all involved, and they learn about volunteerism too, which is an important part of growing up, I think.
Yes.
So there you have it, a kind of an overview of the Tex Hill Wing and all the things that you're doing aside from that gorgeous airplane that you have. Jeff, as wing leader, what's been, I guess, the biggest challenge that you've faced as far as trying to manage all of this? I mean, you've got the airplanes, the education center, the cadet program, just the general, unit sort of operations. But what's kind of been the biggest challenge for you?
Well, a lot of the challenges are mitigated by my outstanding staff. Jenny is self-sufficient and runs a fantastic cadet program, and she plans so many trips, and they go off without a hitch. Twice we've taken our cadets up to receive their cadet awards up at headquarters, and the logistics behind taking a bunch of teenagers up to Dallas for a weekend is just amazing, but she handles it so well. And then otherwise, we have a fantastic staff. And John, as our maintenance officer of the year for the CAF, does a fantastic job keeping Old Yeller flying. And his experience with the National Air and Space Museum, running a restoration team, has really helped out the VAL. I'd say the biggest problem is determining how we're going to spend our money between rebuilding the VAL, spending on the cadet program, and everything else. And that's why we could really use your help this Blaze of Christmas. And if you wish, you can even join us as sponsors, add your plaque to the wall. This plane, the whole mission of the Commemorative Air Force is to acquire, restore, and preserve planes. Well, this one's been acquired already. It was just in need of restoration. And we've already put so much money into it between the engine rebuild, the new propeller, and everything else. We really could use your help this 12 Planes of Christmas and have it culminate in its new paint job to not look carrier-based, but to look land-based. And hopefully we'll see it flying in July. And we would love everybody to be a sponsor and also come down and join us on that maiden flight day.
Very good. And, just to point out to folks who are wondering, because you mentioned the cadet program and all the other things that go into it, but all the money that's donated during the 12 Planes of Christmas goes specifically to the VAL Restoration Project. So so that's one thing. Of course, if you're so motivated, you can always send a separate donation for the cadet program as well. But either way, but I just wanted to point that out, that the 12 Planes of Christmas is going specifically into the airplanes. So it's a dedicated fund.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Steve. It definitely goes all into the maintenance fund of flying the VAL. And it's so many little things that add up. John talked about the seats costing $1,200 each, and the cables are not cheap. The instrument calibration being put in the new plane, that's all going to be expensive, and we really could use your help to see this flying again. I would love to see it flying again. I'm pretty sure I saw it fly the first time I saw Tora in '92 when I was an Air Force pilot at an air show, and I would love to see it airborne again.
Now, Jenny, for you, we've had a few questions from listeners, viewers tonight about the cadet program, because the Tex Hill Wing program is very successful. How often do the cadets meet, and how long are your meetings? And do you have like rotating topics, during each of the meetings, or how do you do it?
So we were doing a month-to-month with the general membership meeting for Saturday of the month, and realized that we were having too much of a disconnect with that much time in between. So with the help of a volunteer who recently came on, her and her entire family, which I joke with them and say they probably regret the day they met me at the airport, because I quickly roped them into doing all the stuff that I needed help with. We developed a program where we would check in with the cadets Thursday evenings for about 30 minutes just to say hi, hello. We give them a little tiny 5-minute assignment, and our topics do rotate. So we started with Amelia Earhart and the principles of flight, and right now we've been on like a 2-month run for World War II and rationing and all the things, victory gardens, and we are about to wrap that up and head into some space stuff.
Ooh. About how many cadets are active in the program?
We have currently 17 that are on fire for aviation, and I'm holding on to them as long as I can.
And what are the age range that you have?
We have 13, and I think our oldest right now is 20.
Okay. And of course, they get involved with other events that happen at the wing as well, aside from the cadet events.
Yes.
So what are some of those things that they support?
They have actually been able to do a little bit of mentorship, working on the airplanes under John and Mike's careful eye. And besides the marshalling, they've helped volunteer at different events off-site with many of our community partners that we've hosted within the Tex Hill Education Center. They've gotten to participate with them, and then going up to even the Syntex Wing and helping with their events as well.
Great, great. Jeff, as wing leader, you mentioned taking a ride in Old Yeller. If someone's interested in taking a ride in that airplane, how do they go about doing that?
I'm glad you brought that up, Steve. I saw that in the chat. Right now, the rides program, we're just reinstituting it after 3 years of it being gone. And go to texhillwing.org and email me. You'll see Tex Hill Wing Lead. That's my email address. I'll get you on the list as soon as probably this fall. This month, November, we'll have our first ride for hire, and then we'll have an up and running program. So email me. I will not lose you, and we'll get you a ride.
Sounds good. What are the long range plans for the VAL once it's ready to go again?
Well, we would love to just show it off and help out at Syntex events, have our own events, our own fly-ins, and then also continue to do what we do, interest other cadets, future aviators in aviation. That's my favorite thing to do in Old Yeller. You heard that in the movie clip that we recorded. I love taking cadets up and allowing them to manipulate the controls at a safe altitude, and that I remember the first time somebody let me do that, and I think it changed my life. So we would love to offer flights to our members. We love to get our members up airborne, and also we'll add that to the Rides for Hire program also.
Very good. And John, as we sort of wrap things up tonight, what are your thoughts going forward with the restoration of the airplane?
In a way, that's a difficult question. The first thing to do is get it out the door and have it look nice and pretty. Getting it back into the air, validating the repairs and the work that's been done on it. It falls in the experimental category, so we're rather limited in what we could do as far as rides are concerned, actually not authorized. But there is one area where we could do, on a periodic basis, a minor air battle show. I'm equipping this thing with smoke, so they can pretend to be shot down, and also chase after the SRJ. So there's a little bit of that going forward.
Good.
In the interim, I'm down to a point now where the cadets could become more and more involved with it. Up until this point, it's been like any other aircraft work. You're covered with grease and dust and just about anything else, and you can't really send a young fella or gal home, look like she's been through the mills. So a little bit dirtier, a little bit more interesting. So I'm looking forward to that prospect.
Good. Well, And here's a really kind of forward-looking thought. So when the VAL goes out the door and it has its successful test flight, which I know it's going to, and it's out going to air shows and showing the flag for CAF, what's the next project you're going to be involved in?
I don't know.
So what you're saying is,
I'm sure there'll be something.
well, it's up to Jeff to find the next airplane, right?
Pretty
That's
much, yes.
And Jenny, any thoughts that you'd like to share before we wrap up tonight about the cadet program and your involvement?
One thing I did forget to mention, over the years with the Tex Hill Wing, we have actually produced 8 pilots from our cadet program, and I think that's a lot for us to be proud of, that the kids are really getting something good from being involved with us.
Great. And how do you have programs, mechanisms in place to help them do that as well?
We had the ground school. We would love to do it again, and that's definitely something that we're looking into. We do have a Tex Hill Wing scholarship that we give, and then basically the mentorship, the encouragement that they need. And I was on a trip this weekend, and I got a message from one of our cadets that said, "Hey, I just passed my private pilot check ride," and
Wow.
I just tears in my eyes of how proud I am of them. So the mentorship part is huge.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Jeff, will Old Yeller be flying around during the fiesta and kind of showing the flag?
Definitely. We'll do our Fiesta fly-in again, and it's going to be another huge event. As I brought up, though, our career day is October 19th, and at Stinson, our membership meetings are right there in Hangar 3, where John is right now, and that is every Saturday at 11. I'm sorry, every first Saturday at 11. And everybody's welcome to come out to that. We're a very welcoming group. As far as membership meetings go, for the size of our unit, just having 130 members about, we do get a good turnout there. We get about 40 or 50 people every meeting. So it's a good time to come out. We usually have some type of activity. The last 3 months, we've had guest speakers who have all been outstanding, and we can plan to continue that program in the future also. Also with the cadet program, Jenny's had separate guest speakers, and so have I. Just for the cadets, between Academy liaison officers and other pilots, including Brian Lloyd, who you may have seen in Oshkosh give his briefing. But yeah, so first Saturday of the month, 11 o'clock, everybody's welcome. And then October 19th, definitely, if you have a child or know a neighbor or anybody interested in aviation, they should really come out that day and talk with the aviation schools, the colleges, the high schools we have lined up.
Excellent. And if someone wants to join the wing, and I always like to emphasize this, is that you can join any CAF wing anywhere, even if you can't make it to the meetings, but by joining a unit, your membership helps support the unit. So even if you can't be there, you can still be a part of the action. How do they join, Jeff?
Well, they can go on the website, and once again, they can email me, so texhillwing.org. And if you go to contacts, you'll see Tex Hill Wing Lead, and that's my email address, Jeff Schmidt. And go ahead and email me, and I'll make sure that our recruiting team and membership team, after I speak to you, gets a hold of you and starts that process.
Excellent. Don't forget, support the VAL on the 12 Planes from Christmas when the campaign comes around, so you can help keep help keep this airplane in the air. And as John said, he's shooting for June or July of next summer to see it, and we'll try to keep track of it as well and give you an update when it has its first flights. And so Jenny, John, Jeff, thank you for being with us tonight. And Grace has been she did the filming of most of the video, and she's been in the background taking care of all sorts of things. But thank you, Grace, for being a part of this tonight as well. And that will do it for Warbird Tube for tonight. thank you for joining us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode, this episode, or any thoughts you may have on future topics. Just drop Leah Block an email at media@cafhq.org. Remember, if you like the program, please share it across your social media channels. And if you are a subscriber on YouTube, thank you for subscribing. And make sure you click that bell icon, and you'll get episode notifications when our new episodes go live. So that'll wrap it up for tonight's episode of CAF Warbird Tube. I'm Steve Buss. Until next time, have a great night.